Are you thinking about moving to Columbus, Ohio and looking for a suburb that offers attractive amenities and close proximity to downtown Columbus? If so, Grove City, Ohio might just be the right suburb for you. In this video, I'm going to discuss some of the most common things that you might be thinking about in considering where to live, and then I'll let you know if living in Grove City is going to be a pro or a con for that factor. If we haven't met, I'm David DeLuey, your Columbus, Ohio real estate agent. I love it when people just like you reach out to me with questions about living in Columbus, Ohio and the surrounding area. So if you are thinking about moving to Columbus, Ohio, or buying a home or selling a home in the area, you can contact me by phone, text, email, or even schedule a Zoom call with me. All of that contact information is located at the top of the description below. Well, with that being said, let's get into the first factor that most people consider when looking at a place to live, and that is location. All right, so the first thing I want to go over is the location of Grove City and kind of where it is in connection to the rest of Columbus. So we're going to look down here at the map, and you can see that Grove City is located on the southwest side of Columbus, and it is just on the south side of the Interstate 270 outer belt that goes around Columbus, and then it also straddles Interstate 71 as well. So it's really convenient from that standpoint that you can get on both Interstate 71 and Interstate 270 very easily right from Grove City. So really convenient from that standpoint, because Interstate 71, as you head north into Columbus, you can then get on another highway, 104, that goes east over towards US 33. And then you can also continue up Interstate 71 to where it connects with Interstate 70 near downtown Columbus. It also can either continue to go north on Interstate 71 up through Columbus, north to Cleveland, or you can hop on State Route 315, which takes a more western route through Columbus, which also goes by Ohio State University. So if you need to get to Ohio State University from Grove City, it's very convenient to do so because you can just take the highway to get there. You can also easily get to Interstate 670, which will then take you either a little bit west towards, again, it connects with Interstate 70, or it takes you east to the John Glenn International Airport in Columbus. So that's the main airport, and that's actually the thing that I was going to talk about next, is the airport. So there's two airports in Columbus: John Glenn International Airport, which I just mentioned. That's over here on the east side of Columbus. So John Glenn Columbus International Airport. It's located just a little bit south of the Easton Town Center. So that's one of the major shopping areas and shopping malls in the city of Columbus. And then the other airport is called Rickenbacker International Airport. Now that airport is mostly for cargo, but it does also have flights by Allegiant Air. So you can fly on Allegiant Air to Florida and then seasonally to South Carolina and or Georgia as well. But so most of the time, if you're gonna fly in or out of Columbus, you're gonna be doing it out of John Glenn International. So that one, it's not terribly inconvenient. You could be further away, but the reality is that you are kind of on the opposite side of Columbus. So you probably want to take Interstate 270 depending on the time of day. It's a little bit longer route, but you're probably going to get in less traffic. Now, unfortunately, right now, there's a lot of construction on the eastern side of 270 at Interstate 70. So where Interstate 70 and 270 intersect, that junction has a lot of construction right now. It can be a hot mess with backups. So that's unfortunate because you'd have to go through there if you went on 270. And then you just go a little bit higher, further north, and then you take 670 to the airport exit, or you just go north, and this is the more direct route by far. You just take I-71 north, then you can either connect directly with 670 and go through downtown that way, or just north of downtown, or you can get on Interstate 70 and then connect there to 670 to go to the airport. So there are at least several options for you to take different highways to get to the main airport, whereas Rickenbacker, you're so close to it. You don't even have to use 270. You could just get on some of these smaller roads that take you back over here. And again, it's mostly for cargo, but Allegiant Air does fly out of there as well. For the airports, I would give Grove City pretty even in the middle. Maybe it's a slight edge of pro, but not exactly, because it's not super convenient compared to some of the other suburbs to the main airport, John Glenn Columbus International, but it is super convenient to Rickenbacker. So if you're trying to fly on Allegiant Air to Florida all the time, it's extremely convenient for you. And it's really not all that bad. I don't really consider any areas, unless you're just on the far west side of Columbus, to be all that inconvenient to the airports, just because it's located right in town. It is on the outer belt pretty much, but it's easy to get to because of the highways, so it makes it really convenient for most people. Next, let's talk about the proximity to downtown Columbus and also the Arena District downtown and the Short North. So downtown Columbus, again, very convenient from Grove City, depending on where you're at. Now, if you're far away from the interstate, far away from the highway, maybe it will take you 10 minutes just to get to the interstate. But then once you're on the interstate, you're just driving up Interstate 71. And obviously, depending on where you need to go, you're really close to downtown already. And again, maybe you get stuck in traffic once you're in downtown, then you get off the interstate, and then you are still, having some traffic lights, then you have to find parking. But in a general sense, you're not too far away. There's some areas where you might be driving 30 or 40 minutes just to get to downtown. Well, with Grove City, depending on the time of day, depending on traffic, you're a pretty close drive. It's not going to take you all that long to get there. So really convenient. So the Arena District is right there in the downtown area. And so that's where you have the arenas for our NHL team, the Columbus Blue Jackets, Major League Soccer team, the Columbus Crew, and then also the minor league baseball team, Columbus Clippers. So they all have their arenas right there in the downtown area called the Arena District. So again, highly convenient to get to. And then the Short North Arts District, that's a place with a lot of bars, restaurants, and art galleries and whatnot. So that's just on the north side of Columbus. So those three things, Columbus downtown, the Arena District, and the Short North, you're all pretty close. So on that south side of Columbus, Columbus is located a little bit further south within the 270 outer belt. So it's not right in the center, closer to the south. So the fact that Grove City is on that south side just means that you are a little bit closer to downtown Columbus than if you were on the north side. So for its proximity to downtown Columbus, the Arena District, and the Short North, I would definitely say Grove City, that's a pro for Grove City because it's closer than most suburbs that are outside of the 270 outer belt. It's closer than most of them. All right, next let's talk about malls. So Grove City does have a nice shopping area right in Grove City, but it doesn't have its own real mall. So Columbus has a few major malls, and two are probably what I would consider the most popular. Those are the Easton Town Center, which is located on the east side of Columbus, right near Interstate 270. So that's north, a little bit north of the John Glenn Columbus International Airport. And then also Polaris Fashion Place. So the Polaris area is on the north side of Columbus, a little bit north of Interstate 270, right off of Interstate 71. So there are literally hundreds of shops, restaurants, entertainment options in that Polaris area, including Topgolf for Columbus right there, IKEA as well as there. So really nice mall, lots to eat, lots of shopping and entertainment as well to do in the Polaris and in the Easton areas as well. There is another mall called the Tuttle Crossing Mall, and that is located kind of on the northwest side of Interstate 270. It's in the Dublin area. That mall isn't quite as popular, not quite as nice, doesn't have quite as high end of the stores like the other two malls do. So that's probably the closest mall to you. In Grove City is the Tuttle Mall, but all of them are kind of on the north side of downtown. So it's not really great for having being super close to the malls. Now again, depending on the time of day, and exactly where you live in Grove City, once you get on the highway, you're maybe 15 minutes to get to the Tuttle Mall. You're probably more around like 30 minutes to get to Polaris, maybe a little bit less to get to Easton. So if you're in love with being at the mall, Grove City isn't the best location for you. Somewhere like Gahanna on the east, or Westerville is really close to the Polaris Mall, Lewis Center, even Powell's close as well. So those are maybe some better options if you really need to be close to the mall all the time. So I'd probably give that a con for Grove City, just because it's not as convenient as some other locations are. So as far as other locations that you might be interested in going to, again, because it's so close to the highway, going to somewhere like Bridge Park in Dublin, it's still extremely convenient. Even though Bridge Park, it's on the northwest side, again, in the Dublin area. And so, but it's easy. As soon as you get on 270, you just take 270 along that west side. There's a couple areas where at the right time of day or the wrong time of day, depending on how you look at it, rush hour, you might have a couple spots where there's extra traffic and it gets backed up on the highway. But generally speaking, it's pretty good. 270 is generally speaking at least 4 lanes each way, all the way around. There's a couple spots where it's not, and then there's a couple spots, for example, near Easton where it's 8 lanes going in each direction. So it's definitely easy to get to Bridge Park, even though you have to drive, from the southwest side to the northwest side of town. It really doesn't take all that long to get there. Another spot that might be of interest to you is the New Albany International Business Park. So New Albany is located here kind of in the northeast side of Columbus. And what's interesting about New Albany is even though it's a really small town, which it has most of the time the highest median and highest average sale price of any corporate limit, any town, any city, any suburb in the Columbus area. So really, a lot of higher priced homes, really nice area, highly rated school district. But so New Albany has this business park. So there's a lot of corporate offices and corporate headquarters in New Albany and the surrounding area. And one of the most interesting things that's happened there recently is Intel had announced that they are building not 1, but 2 chip manufacturing plants in that New Albany area. So New Albany is experiencing a lot of growth right now because of that, because, with Intel coming in, not counting the construction jobs and not counting the supporting jobs from other vendors that are going to work as suppliers for Intel or work alongside Intel, but just Intel is going to have 3,000 permanent full-time employees there. So if you can just imagine an employer coming in as big as Intel and going to have 3,000 high-paying 6-figure average jobs in the area. So New Albany, like I said, it's located here on the northeast side. Intel's a little bit on, to the northeast of New Albany towards Johnstown. But so as far as its proximity to Grove City, it's not great. If you're trying to, work at Intel, if you're moving to Columbus to work at Intel, Grove City probably isn't your best option as far as the location goes. Now, there might be other reasons why you would choose to live in Grove City. If you're used to living in a much bigger city where, you're commuting an hour or longer on average, and that's normal to you, you still might not even think that it's that bad to go from Grove City to New Albany or to Intel, because it still might only be, again, depending on the time of day, maybe 45 minutes to get there. Because most of it's on the highway. So you could either take Interstate 71 and go north through Columbus, then pick up 670 to get to 270 on the east side of Columbus, and then you can take 270 north. Now, I will mention this, just so that you don't mess up if you use GPS or you think that you're nowhere near the exit. There's a few places, and this is one of them, where right near the Easton Town Center, you actually have to get off on an exit to go all the way north to State Route 161, which is what takes you over east towards New Albany and also Newark, Ohio. And so just be aware of that, because you're literally on that exit for a couple miles. And so if you're thinking, oh, I'm nowhere near 161, you don't take a 161 exit right at 161. It's way back closer to Easton. Right before you would get off at the exit for Easton. So it's a little bit confusing. So there's a couple places like that. So just be aware of that. You might kind of take a look at, your first couple times, leave a little bit of extra time in advance, because it definitely does take you a little bit longer if you miss that exit, and then you have to go way past the exit, circle back, drive through city streets just to get back on the highway again. So not the greatest location, but again, if you're used to living really far away from your work in a really big city, or you just have a long commute as it is and you have a lot of traffic, it's going to be better than that, but it's just not the best option if you're going to be living in Columbus, because you could live somewhere in the Westerville area over here, you could live in New Albany, you could live in Gahanna or Blacklick, even Johnstown or Pataskala. You could live in these areas and they have new construction homes going in. So there might just be closer options to Intel than living in Grove City. So as far as that's concerned, I would give it a con. Again, for the Columbus area, I'd give Grove City a con for its proximity to New Albany and Intel. And it's about even for Bridge Park because it's super convenient and easy to get there on the highway. It's just that it's a little bit further than some other areas like Hilliard or Powell or obviously Dublin because you're right there. So a little bit of a pro, a little bit of a con there. And as far as the location. So overall, I would say Grove City is a pro for the location because it's located right near Interstate 71 and also the 270 Outer Belt. You're not way far outside of the Outer Belt, which just makes it cuts down on your commutes. It cuts down on the time it takes to get places. However, being on the south side of Columbus, there aren't as many amenities on the south side as there are on the north side of downtown. Next, let's talk about affordability. So, Grove City, as of the most recent housing report that was available at the time of this recording, the average sale price in Grove City is about $378,000. And the median sale price is about $352,000. Now, to give you a comparison, in that same month, Columbus, as the entire MLS, the entire Columbus area, it just set an all-time record high for the median sale price of $322,000. So Grove City is only a little bit higher than the overall average for the median sale price for all of the Columbus area. So not too bad there. The average price per square foot is only about $196 per square foot. So that is definitely less than some of the other suburbs. Some of the other suburbs might be 220, maybe 230, or even higher, depending on which suburb it is. Some of them can even be over $300 per square foot as the average sale price. So I recently toured a new 4-bedroom home in Grove City. And so that home, I had over 2,600 square feet, had 2.5 bathrooms, 2-car garage. Now it didn't have a basement. It did also have an office though. And it was priced right now at just under $420,000, which puts it at only $158 per square foot. Now think about that for a second. New construction, so that's the actual cost of building, what the builders have to do right now. That's not, hey, well, this is a really old home and back then it didn't matter and maybe it's not in a very nice neighborhood. This is in a new neighborhood, new construction home. It's actually really nice. I really liked the floor plan of this home a lot. So make sure at the end of this video, I'll put one of those links where you can, click right here to see the next video. So I'll make sure to put that at the end of this video. So make sure to check that home out. It's priced below $420,000. Again, only $158 per square foot, which I feel like is a great value for a home. So if you're thinking about Grove City, that might be a perfect home for you. Make sure to jump on it. Contact me right away because I do feel like that home is going to sell fast because it is such a great value. So for home prices, I would definitely say Grove City is a pro in general. You do have some homes that are higher priced, but in a general sense, it's a little bit lower priced than some of the other suburbs. Next, let's take a look at property taxes. So in Grove City, a home that's for sale right now for about $300,000. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, about 1,800 square feet. The taxes are about $3,200 per year. So that will give you a little bit of an idea. For some people, you might be thinking that's super high, and other people are thinking that's super low for that type of a home. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 1,800 square feet. Where I live, that's $1 million home. Well, here it's about a $300,000 home. This is an older home, but it's been updated, so it looks nice inside. It's just not a brand new home. And like I said, that's about $3,200 per year. Then also there's a home that's for sale. It just had a price drop to about $500,000. Now this is a 5-bedroom, 3 full bath home with a basement, about 4,000 finished square feet. So a really big home, 3-car garage. And that one, the property taxes are about $7,500 per year. So give you a little bit of an idea, about a $500,000 home, it's about $7,500 per year in property taxes in Grove City. Then finally, there's a $750,000 home. This is one that actually sold, because I just wanted to make sure, because obviously on some higher priced homes, it could be on the market for months and it could never sell, because someone could want to sell their home for $900,000 when it's only worth $700,000. So I wanted to have a home that actually sold. So this one sold recently for $750,000. It's on a golf course. So it's in a really beautiful community, beautiful homes there on a golf course. And the property taxes on that home are about $16,000 a year. And again, you might be thinking, whoa, David, that's insane. Well, in comparison, depending on where you live in the country, that actually might be totally reasonable. $16,000 a year, so that's a little bit over $1,000 a month, a little bit extra beyond that, but you're in a beautiful home right on a golf course in a beautiful community. So property taxes, I would say it's a pro. Again, depending on where you're from, you might not think it's a pro, but generally speaking, it's pretty nice. It's not outrageous. There's definitely some areas that would seem like it have higher property taxes than here in Grove City. Next, let's talk about the income tax. So if you're not familiar with it, cities in Ohio can have their own local income tax. So if you live in Grove City, if you work in Grove City, or if you conduct business in Grove City, you will be required to file a Grove City income tax return. So if you have a job, your employer is actually required to withhold 2% of your income. So if you're going to be earning $100,000, they're going to withhold $2,000 from your paychecks. So some of the homes, and this is throughout the Columbus area, they're not actually located in the corporate limit, so they're just in the township that they're located in. If you just live in the township and you don't live in the actual corporate limit of the city, then you wouldn't be responsible for paying the local income tax unless, of course, you conduct business or you work in Grove City, in which case you'd still be paying it. Now, in comparison, Columbus, Hilliard, and Gahanna, they all have a tax rate of 2.5%, whereas Dublin, Powell, New Albany, Westerville, and obviously Grove City, they have a tax rate of 2%. So I would consider this a pro. It's on the lower side of taxes for the region, and there are some places that are a little bit higher. Unfortunately, it's just something you have to deal with here. Next, let's talk about schools. So Grove City is located in the Southwestern City School District, and that has over 21,000 students. Now, niche.com gives the school district a B- grade. It's obviously not great. Maybe for you, if you got low grades in school, you're thinking B-, I would have been happy with a B-. But for other people, they're thinking, man, I got A's all the time, so a B-, that's terrible. So they did get a B- on niche.com. Now for the Columbus area, that actually rates them in the bottom half of school districts in the area. There's a lot of districts that rate very highly: Dublin, Upper Arlington, Olentangy, New Albany, and others. And so Southwestern City, unfortunately, is in the bottom half of the school districts in the Columbus area. So there's 19 elementary schools, and their grades range from B+ all the way down to a C rating. There's 10 middle schools in the area ranging from a B grade down to a C. So there's 4 high schools in the area, and they range from a B- to a C+. So they're pretty consistent, not too much of a difference between the B- and the C+. So you're pretty consistent across the board there. And I'll rate this a con, again, just because the school ratings are a little bit lower than many school districts in the area. So even though it's a B-, which is technically above average, right? It's below average though, based on the area as a whole. Next, let's talk about some of the actual local amenities right there in Grove City. First, let's talk about parks and recreation. So Parks and Rec, there are 30 parks in Grove City covering almost 350 acres, and there are also 3 signature parks. They do have a garden, they have an active older adult center, They do also have some specialty parks, such as a water park, skate park, an off-leash dog park, and an all-ability complex, and 19 ball fields. So there are 171 acres of open space and over 38 miles of multi-use recreational paths. So for a city with a population of just about 40,000, I would definitely say that is a pro for Grove City. Next, let's talk about shopping. Like I mentioned earlier, there actually is a really nice shopping area in Grove City. Plenty of shops there, and your typical places to eat out. Now, it's not gonna necessarily have the variety that you might get near downtown or the Short North or Bridge Park in Dublin or near Easton and near the Polaris Fashion Place. But as far as being in its own suburb, it does give you plenty of options. So it's not like you're living out in the country and you have to drive 20 miles just to get to a restaurant. You have plenty of options right there in Grove City. So I would still consider that a pro. Finally, as far as public transportation, Columbus unfortunately doesn't have any trains or subways, so it's really not great overall if you're looking for public transportation. Now, there is a bus line and the bus does run through Grove City, so you can do that, but buses obviously aren't always the most convenient way to get around. They can't go as fast, they're gonna get stuck in traffic still. So in a general sense, I'd probably say it's easier to get around Columbus in a car rather than in public transportation. But as far as at least having it, Grove City does at least have it. So that is at least a pro, that it's not cut off from it. If you get further out into some other suburbs, you might not even have public transportation at all. So you do at least have it in Grove City. So I'd say that's a pro. So next, let's talk about employment opportunities. So Grove City is unique in that it's, again, so close to downtown Columbus and also so convenient to other areas within the Columbus whole metro. And so because of that, only about 11% of the people who live in Grove City actually work in Grove City. So that's a little bit less than 2,000 people. And then there's about over 14,000 people that live in Grove City, but they're employed outside of Grove City. And then there's a little bit over 19,000 people that live outside of Grove City, but that are employed in Grove City. So it just gives you a little bit of an idea that you might have a lot of people living in Grove City who work elsewhere. So even though you might not think like, there aren't all that many job options right there locally in Grove City, yeah, you might be right. It's not, you're gonna have a lot of retail or restaurant jobs, things like that. You do have, growing healthcare opportunities. There's new hospitals in the area, but there's not quite as many options as you have in areas like Dublin or in New Albany, or even right in the heart of, kind of downtown Columbus, just because you don't have these big corporations with offices or, manufacturing stuff right there as much in Grove City as you do in some of the other areas. Finally, for a few other factors to consider, this is something that maybe a lot of people wouldn't like being near. Now, depending on where you live in Grove City, this might not even be a factor and you might not even realize that it's there. But Grove City is relatively close to a few different things that, again, might not be what you want to be close to. One of which is the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio. So their main waste disposal and recycling operation with facilities is nearby. So that could contribute to negative perceptions of the area, as well as the Franklin County jail system is somewhat close. It's on the south side of Columbus. Again, so it's nearby. So if that's something that you're not wanting to be near, again, Grove City might not be the best location for you, because they have the waste disposal, the recycling, and also the Franklin County jail somewhat nearby. Now, again, if you live in Columbus, it's also going to be nearby to Columbus as well. But so Grove City, depending on where you live in it, you might think, I'm just a few miles down the road from the jail, or a few miles down the road from the recycling facility or from the waste facility. So those might be issues that you're not really comfortable with, and so Grove City might not be the best for you because of that. So obviously, I'm gonna rate that a con for Grove City, just because there's other suburbs where you're not close to the jail, you're not close to the dump, you're not close to the recycling facility. It's definitely more, you could get the idea that there's some more industrial areas nearby, whereas some of the other suburbs, you don't really get that industrial feel at all. You just have residential and commercial. So there is more industry stuff nearby Grove City than there are some of the other suburbs in the Columbus area. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about Grove City. Again, this is an area that's really close to downtown Columbus. It's just on the southwest side of the 270 outer belt. But again, you're super convenient because of being right there at 270 and Interstate 71. You can get to downtown Columbus extremely easily. And also, if you're interested in going down to Cincinnati. Now, Columbus also doesn't have any NFL teams. So one of the benefits of living in Grove City is because you're right on Interstate 71, you could drive down to Cincinnati, which Cincinnati is a little bit closer to Columbus than Cleveland is to Columbus. And since you're on the side that's closest to Cincinnati, you can get down to Cincinnati, take advantage of the shopping that they might have there. You can go check out a Cincinnati Bengals game, see your favorite NFL teams there. They also have Major League Baseball in Cincinnati and in Cleveland with the Cincinnati Reds or the Cleveland Guardians. So you can also check out a Major League Baseball game down there in Cincinnati. So it's convenient from that standpoint. Columbus also doesn't have an NBA team, which Cleveland, you at least have the Cavaliers. Cincinnati doesn't have that. But so as far as proximity to get out of Columbus to another city like Cincinnati, I'd say that's a pro for Grove City, because if you're in New Albany, you're all the way across Columbus, whereas at least with Grove City, you're right on Interstate 71. You just take 71 south of Columbus. You're probably not even gonna get in any traffic until you get to Cincinnati because you're already out of town. So you don't have to worry about getting through town, you're just out of town already. So that's maybe another benefit of living in Grove City, is its proximity to Cincinnati. And one of the cool things also about Cincinnati is they have a Great Wolf Lodge. So if you haven't been to Great Wolf Lodge and you have a family, it's a big indoor water park. It's basically like a hotel. You can stay there, but then you also get to go to the water park. Sometimes it's super expensive depending on what week of the year, if you're right near the holidays. But other times they run these sales and you can get a great price for your family to be able to go visit, have a lot of fun at an indoor water park, and just get some time together. So why would you want to live in Grove City, Ohio? Because you want to live in a suburb that is pretty close to downtown Columbus, that isn't the most expensive, but it still feels like a nice place to be with desirable local amenities right there in the suburb. If there's anything that you want to know about Grove City that I didn't cover in this video, go ahead and let me know in the comments and I would be happy to help you out. Remember, if you want to know everything about living in Columbus, Ohio, moving to Columbus, Ohio, or relocating to Columbus, Ohio, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you can be the first to know what's happening right now in the Columbus, Ohio real estate market. Whether you want to look at a home today or in a few months from now, I would be happy to help make your move to Columbus, Ohio as stress-free as possible. Until next time, I hope to see you around Columbus.